Guardian said that it is at least as awful crime as 9/11, because we went to Jenin. And of course, there was international commissions to study our crimes. That only commissions then were disbanded, because what was discovered that 52 people were killed in Jenin, Palestinians, and 23 of our soldiers, and most of the people who were killed in Jenin were fighting with their arms against us. So that was the situation, and we were singled for condemnation. So what was good in this? The good was that terrorism ceased to exist, that in 3 weeks it went down from 130 in a month to 5 in a year, that our economy was restored, that tourism came back, and maybe the most important, that Palestinians on Western Bank stopped suffering from the terrorism of Hamas. And if today there is some chance, because there are some bottom-up building of security forces of Palestinians, that there are beginnings of the new life for Palestinians, it's only because Hamas was defeated there by our troops. And that's exactly the choice that we have to do each time. And by the way, of course, now the story repeated itself again. After 9,000 missiles, how many missiles our civilians can suffer to get? We decide very difficult decisions, which we are postponing and postponing, because we didn't want to be condemned by our free will. We decided to have this other operation, and sure enough, just now, 3 days ago, I'm reading, or 5 days ago, I'm reading in Guardian that the case for the existence of Israel as a Jewish state was very weak from the beginning. But now it's clear that we have to go back before 1948, when Jews and Arabs lived so good and so peacefully without the state. And that is the problem, because, of course, everybody can say, with all what you said, why you call it anti-Semitism? After all, it's disagreement about how the world has to be developed in our postmodern age. But, you know, even if you think that Israel, or those who think that Israel is wrong in launching one another operation, of course Israel has a lot of things to be discussed and to be criticized. But from where comes this declaration, this statement, supported by so many intellectuals in the free world, that Israel lost its legitimate right to exist? Did Sudan lose its legitimate right to exist after millions of people killed in this ethnic cleansing? Did Cambodia lost their legitimate right to exist after half of its population was killed? So from where it comes? A few years ago, responding to these declarations that we try to stop legitimate criticism of Israel, and I think nobody can stop legitimate criticism of Israel, because Israel is too strong a democracy to stop criticizing itself. But I propose then 3 Ds: demonization, double standard, and delegitimization. 3 Ds which were always used by anti-Semites against Jews on different stages, against Jewish religion, Jewish nation, and now Jewish state. The same 3 Ds, unfortunately today, delegitimization, demonization, double standard, are applied against Israel in a more obvious way than anywhere before. You know, in 1982, there was made a special PhD, academical work in Moscow Institute of Eastern Studies, which was called Secret Connections Between Zionism and Nazism. It was about how, in fact, Zionists were interested in supporting of Nazis because it could help them, and how Nazis were supporting Zionists because it was help them. This ridiculous work was written by then Abu Mazen. It was written in Russian, so I could read it. And this ridiculous work could deserve the academical degree only because it went very well to the official propaganda. Official Soviet propaganda, yes, it was saying that Nazis and Zionists are allies. Many years after this, in 2008, now the president of Palestinian Authority, Mohammed Abbas, the same Abu Mazen, is standing together with President Bush and Prime Minister Olmert in Annapolis, and is asked by Prime Minister of Israel that we want you to have a state. We want you to live in peace with us, to be fully responsible for the life of Palestinians. We want you only just now recognize the right of Israel to exist as a Jewish democratic state. And Abu Mazen said, we will never do it, because it's racism. Who needs Jewish state in our times? Why you should not be the state of all the citizens? One can say how it can be that Abu Mazen, who is fully dependent, at this moment is fully dependent on Israeli forces, whose activists were saved from torture and killing, those of the crusade of Hamas, only with the help of Israel, who was praying that Israel will finish Hamas in Gaza and was very upset that we stopped our operation. How it is that he refuses to recognize the right of Israel to exist as a Jewish state? Very simply, because he knows that that's exactly what so many intellectuals in the free world feel and think and express and publish. So exactly like then, he was using this wave of Soviet anti-Semitism, who was saying that Nazis and Zionists are the same. Today he is using this popular issue that Israel should not exist as a Jewish state, and finds, surprisingly, support in Europe. Look, there was such a joke in the Soviet Union, because all the reality in the Soviet Union could be understood only through underground jokes. So one of the jokes was, what is real great, I'm finished, what is the friendship, great friendship of the Soviet people means? It means when great Russian people, and the great Ukrainian people, and great Georgian people, and great Armenian people, and all the other great people of the Soviet Union go to beat these dirty Jews. So what was the idea of this joke? It was that if there are any point on which many Soviet officials can agree, it's on their hatred of Jews. Today, surprisingly, we find ourselves in the world where what can unite the people like Ahmadinejad, fundamentalist terrorists, and what can unite the people who are absolutely against them? So many liberal Europeans. What can unite them? Their belief that this, unfortunately I quote another respectable diplomat, as he said it in London, that this dirty little shitty country as Israel should not exist. And we believe that Israel, which is a great country representing great people, should continue to exist, not only because we believe in the values of the free world, of freedom and democracy, not only because we are on the forefront of this struggle for the interests of the free world, but because we believe that we are bringing the formula to the world, how the free world has to defend itself, by linking the passionate belief and love to freedom and democracy, and source which gives strength to fight for this, our identity. Thank you.
Thank you. I'm handing the chair now to Erwin Kotler, who will introduce the next session, and we have a speakers list now who will be taken in this session. Currently on the list I have representatives from Tunisia, from Austria,